Hello.
Hello?
Hey, Ryan.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing, partner?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, pretty dandy. This is Brandon from the One Message Foundation. I'm calling about that free copy of the Quran you ordered.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you receive it?
I did, yes.
Okay, cool, man. You had the chance to read any of it yet?
I've read some of it, yeah.
Okay. And how'd you hear about us?
I think I saw you guys on YouTube.
It's probably that one guy in the park, Shake with Man, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Okay. What'd you think about it? What do you think about what you've come across so far?
I found it interesting. I think, there's a lot of beauty in it. Yeah, it's just interesting. There's definitely some passages that I'm like, I don't know about that, yeah, generally it's a very beautiful story, testament, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, for sure. And so, if anything, what would be holding you back from accepting it as your way of life?
I mean, there's just things that being raised as a Christian, don't believe God would advocate.
Right.
I think that when we look at Christ coming down as God's messenger, as God's son, that he advocated for love and peace and forgive your neighbors, forgive your enemies, and the Quran does not advocate for that in the same way. It says if your enemies do this to you, then you can harm them.
Well, no, it advocates for justice. So, for example, if somebody comes to fight you, God says that you have permission to fight them. But in the next verse, in Surah Baqarah, right, it says, however, if you forgive them, it's better for you. So I think to say that the Quran doesn't advocate that is maybe you haven't read enough of the Quran, or maybe you've been told otherwise. But yeah, absolutely, there is an idea of justice, because justice amongst all things is the defining factor of Islam. Is that everyone deserves justice, and everyone deserves to be free from being oppressed. And if someone harms you, you can harm them back. However, it's very clear though, if you forgive, it's better for you, because not only will your heart won't be hardened, but you get an extra reward in the hereafter if you forgive somebody. There's also many hadith from the Prophet about this. Like, so if someone kills your father, like, you can choose, okay, they can be put to death, right? Like on death row or something, just like Texas where I'm from. Or you can choose to get blood money, right? You don't have to choose that. You can choose for them to pay you. Or if you don't want to do that, you can choose for them to just go free, and they're forgiven. And that's the choice. So I mean, obviously they're still going to have to deal with God and all that stuff, but from your point of view, you have forgiven them, and their forgiveness is actually a huge part. So I think that is maybe a misconception that you might have had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the scriptures that I'm familiar with, it says justice is the Lord's. It's not ours to put in our hands how God will judge. And
not on the day of judgment. Yeah, that's a different justice. Yeah, but on earth, we do have to be just. So, for example, it is our job to do things with justice, because if we didn't, then there wouldn't be such thing as law. Like, we have to have law, right? And so God tells us how to be with law so that we can have the best societies, right? So it makes sense that we don't judge people on, oh, I'm going to put you in hell or heaven. That's the justice, or that's the judgment that we don't have control over. That's God. That is true. But what we do have the control over is if somebody rapes your daughter, you have the right to make sure that you decide what's going to happen to him. And he's going to go to court. He's going to be found guilty, and he's going to be punished for doing that action, right? So these kind of things we have to have, or else society would be in chaos. There has to be law and order, right? So
yeah, I mean, I understand that. I understand as far as legal repercussions, but the kind of justice that you speak of is not the kind of justice that God advocates for. That kind of justice is because I have no right to take a life, even if someone has taken a life from me. That justice is not mine. Lives are not mine to choose what happens to.
Right, but if God tells you
God has never told us to take a life. God would never do that.
Yeah, but it's all over the Bible,
God would never do that.
But that is the defining feature of the Bible, though, especially in the Old Testament, is to take a life for a life. That is the essence of the Tanakh.
That is the essence of the Tanakh that was transformed by the incarnation of Jesus.
But hold on a second. Is Jesus God? Is Jesus part of the Trinity?
Forgive your enemies.
No, Jesus actually said in 10:34
Logos
Matthew,
hate
he
you.
said, "Do not think that I've come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword." So I'm not sure
Meaning
what you're
that
reading.